Hi guys, and welcome to video 2 of module 4. We're going to pick up right where we left off, which was that we had implemented our name field and number field text fields, but we didn't have a way to make the soft keyboards go away when we wanted them to. So we're going to add two ways of doing that. First thing we're going to do is add action methods for the name field and number field that will handle an event, the appropriate event that indicates that you're finished editing. So let's see. We will select the name field and we'll control drag over into the class, and we're going to define a method here. We'll call it text field done editing. It's going to be an action. It's going to run on the editing did end event, and it's going to come from a text field. And the thing we want it to do is to resign being the first responder, which we talked about last time. The first responder is the entity, is the control that's responding first to events in a particular part of screen real estate. Now, this has an argument, sender. Well, that's the object that generated the event. So we don't actually have to specify that we're coming from the name field or the number field. We'll just say we're coming from the sender, and it's going to do the right thing in terms of closing whichever keyboard it is. Now, the particular keyboard we've selected for the number field doesn't have a done event, so that's not going to work for us. And let's go make sure that things are looking right in the connections inspector for the name field. Actually, we've got the wrong event here. It picked editing did end. We're going to say did end on exit is the event we want to tie to this controller. We'll do that for the name field and the number field. Let's test that, though. For now, it's only going to work on the name field because it's the only one that can generate that event. And we'll just put in some random text here. Press return, and our keyboard goes away. Obviously, we can't do it for the number field. So we're going to add another. We're going to have another way of making that go away. So we'll stop our simulation. And what we're going to do to get, in fact, this will work for either one of them. We're going to have a tap in the background cause the soft keyboard to go away. That is, to resign being first responder. And the way we're going to do that, we could add some code to the view method and intercept those taps. But there's actually a built-in component called a tap gesture recognizer that we can add to our view that'll do this for us. Now, I just grabbed it and drug it over here into the storyboard, and but it didn't show up anywhere because a gesture recognizer doesn't have any graphical representation. It's just sitting there interpreting gestures. And gestures are one of iOS's strengths. Things like double taps, drags, squinching together, or pushing apart to zoom, those kinds of things. Those are the kinds of gestures we're going to be recognizing. And You see there are a number of there's a pinch gesture recognizer, a rotation gesture recognizer, swipe gesture recognizer, pan recognizer. So for the tap gesture recognizer, to configure it, we'll go to its attributes inspector. I'm going to have to select it over here in the outline because again it doesn't appear in the visual part of the storyboard. And I want to recognize just a single tap. If I wanted to do double taps or multi-touches, I would specify those things here. I want it enabled, and I'm just going to leave the rest of the defaults alone. So I'm going to connect that up to some code. Let me get my assistant editor up here with the view controller, and we're going to create an action method for the gesture recognizer. So I'm going to control drag from the gesture recognizer down here into the code. The thing I want to add is an action method. I want it to be called text field done editing. Now I've already used that name. I want to call this one on tap gesture recognized, using sort of the convention of on and then the event. And here I didn't come from, there's not a sender argument that I can use because I'm coming from the underlying views. So I'm going to have to, I don't know which text field gave me the soft keyboard that I'm trying to make go away. So I'm just going to have to get rid of both of them. Nothing bad will happen if I try to resign first responder when it's not the first responder, because it's not the first responder. Okay, we'll run that code. And that's connected up. Let's look at the connections inspector for the gesture recognizer. So, and we've got our method indicated here, and let's see if that does what we're expecting it to do. So we'll type a name, we'll tap in the background, keyboard goes away, type a number, tap in the background, keyboard goes away, go back to the name field, we'll tap return, keyboard goes away. So now we're able to make our soft keyboards go away as we wanted to. And that finishes up that piece of the application. Let's stop our simulation, and like I said, now we're going to add the slider and its label. So we'll go back to our storyboard and find a slider. We'll drag that on and put it here, and we'll make it larger. And I'm gonna let's see, as far as constraints go, let's constrain it above and to the right, so we'll constrain it to the field here and to the right edge. Some reason it's not liking those. Hopefully we can get the rest of this sorted out in a second. We'll add a label, which is going to be the number value. Do I have two of them? Yeah, let's delete that one. I need a label here. It's going to be the number for the label. We'll go ahead in the attributes inspector we're going to put 50 as the initial value there. Actually, yeah, we'll do that. We need to modify the properties of the label. Normally it ranges from 0 to 1 with a initial value of 0.5. Let's make the initial value 50, and we'll have it range from 0 to 100. And for this label, let's constrain it to the to line up. Let's see, what do I want to do here? How did I do this one? I'll align it to the left and to the control above. And actually also to the slider on the right. And I think that we don't have any constraint errors at this point. We've set up that value where it needs to be. And so the next thing we need to do then would be we'll need an action method for when the slider's changed and an outlet for the label to change it. So let's get our assistant editor up. We'll set up an outlet for the label. So this is an outlet, and we're going to call that outlet the slider label. And we'll need an action method for the slider itself. And where do we want to put it? Let's put it at the bottom down here. It's an action method, and we're going to call it onSliderChanged. And I think it's got the right event. The value changed event for the slider is correct. And let's check the sliders, connections inspector, that looks right. Let's go in and put the code in here for what we want to have happen. When the slider's changed, the sender, we need the sender to be a UI slider so that we can get the right type. And what we want to have happen is that the slider label text gets updated. And we're going to use a function from the C library, LRoundF. The value of the slider is a floating point. We want to round it to an integer, and we're going to use the value attribute from the sender as the thing we're trying to update there. And let's see how this works. Let's run it. So as we move our slider down to 0, that seems to work. Up to 100. So that looks like it's working pretty well too. So we've got those pieces of our user interface coded, attributes set, action methods and outlets configured, constraints defined, and we'll bring this video to a close. In the next video, we're going to add the segmented control, the switches and the button, and handle that alert and action sheet when we press the button. So see you in the next video.